So going back in here, I'm going to put that down. Do you need help getting it, or you got it?
It should be good now.
Okay, good. So I am going to start the data tools. Not sure why I didn't make a link to the data tools. Pin it to the thing, but there they are, SQL Server data tools. Slowly. All right, and we want a new project.
An analysis services project.
Yeah, and what we want is at the top one, multidimensional, right? I'm just going to look just to be 100% sure of that, but it's we want a multidimensional mining project, and they named it tutorial, but we can name it whatever we want. So I think what I will name it will be just AdventureWorks analysis. We could call it tutorial if you want. All right, and we again the top one, AdventureWorks analysis services, multidimensional, and data mining. I'm going to do OK. And it's a lot like what we've done. Basically, it has a list of folders over here. And part of what we're going to do is we're basically going to walk through these folders and add things, right, one at a time, these different folders. So, but we'll follow the tutorial here. So as you do that, this is the first lesson. We did it. So we're going to define a data source. That's the next lesson. So if you right-click in data sources and you do a new data source, you'll get the data source wizard, define the connection. They say native OLEB, SQL Server, native client. And then in the server name, they say localhost. That's not what we're going to do. And we're going to use Windows authentication. But the thing about this is that it's essentially the same as what we have done many times before. So I'm going to right-click on the data source, new data source. I'm going to do next. And what we want, now we have several here, but none of them are what we want at this point, right? So we're going to do new. And our server name, I'm actually going to use the drop-down list, even though it takes forever because it never seems to like the dot backslash on mine. For those of you on your own machine, it probably is localhost. If this doesn't ever come up, okay, so notice after 30 seconds, it usually is there. I'm going to use the ITC 224.6, Windows authentication, and I'm going to select Data AdventureWorks DW 2014. This dialog box, if you do Microsoft stuff with databases, you'll see this dialog box 300 million times. You should get very used to it. So, and you can always test the connection. I usually don't, as I say, because it doesn't, all it tells you is that the database is there and you'll already know it because it's in the dialog, in the drop-down list. But I'm going to do OK. And then I'm going to do next. And then this may take a moment. What does yours have?
So it's the data source wizard, but it has...
If you go next, it'll be.
Oh, just, sorry, okay.
So I think we need to do something here. I wonder if we could use the credentials of the current user. We can try it. It seems to have worked. Sometimes I have, and we may still end up, so I hate running through a wizard and having to do this. We may have to go up and change the service account.
Did you select the service account?
No, so the one I did is use current user. And I don't know that that will work, actually. Yeah, which we should be, but you might not be on your own laptops. You do not have to be administrator to set this up, but you have to be administrator to run it. Just like the others, basically. So when I did this, like if I do properties, it goes back kind of to the wizard. No, it doesn't. It just comes down here. Sometimes I've gone and set up the account to be localhost, and then localhost NT localhost or whatever. And then you could choose that local service account. I'm going to try the local user. I hate to think that it would fail.
Did you click the button and use credentials for current user?
Yes, I did. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not 100% sure that'll work, but let's hope. All right, so we have a data source with luck. So I'm going to so we might have to change that. I'm just reading this. Impersonation affects the Windows account used to connect authentication. Analysis service does not support impersonation for processing OLAP objects. Select use the service account.
Oh.
So we might have to do that again. The trouble. I know what it is. I remember doing this. So I am going to take a little side trip here. We might have to make that this over again. I'm going to go to the configuration. So SQL Server configuration. Yeah, you probably should.
Which way you want to run that as administrator?
I don't know if you need to run this as.
Okay.
So analysis services, I'm going to do properties. And it's using this account, NT service, MSL, OLAP, etc. Let's do built-in account and do local service.
I think did you do it from SQL Server analysis?
Yes.
Right click.
So this is in Configuration Manager.
Yep.
So SQL Server Analysis Services, and actually let's make sure that that's on the right server. Okay. And then I'm going to right click and do Properties. And then instead of, so under Service, Start Mode Automatic, that's fine. Advanced, those are fine. I want to change my account to a built-in account, and I'm going to change it to local service. And I'm going to do OK. And I will say yes. Causes the service to be restarted. There's one other thing I believe I have to do.
It's the same for
Right?
it's the same for
I think so. I think this is the same whether you're on the. I had forgotten this because if we don't do this now, eventually everything's going to crash. So in here, under AdventureWorks DW, under users, so I think I might need to do, first I'm going to look for logins. we have authority system into authority system. I think that's it, but let's look under logins, new login. I'm going to search. I'm going to, I think, advanced, find now. All right, so what I did, I know that's kind of fast, but I went to logins, right-clicked. I don't want a new login. So actually, I just, yeah, I do want a new login. New
Is
login.
it under roles?
Is it
What?
under- Is what, how do you get to the login here?
The logins are the security.
But I mean, how do I bring, how do I get to the object explorer? That's what my problem is.
In the management studio.
In the, oh, is that under management?
Yeah, you
Studio?
can't do it
Okay.
from Visual Studio.
Okay,
So,
it's under,
yeah.
Yeah, so security for the server, not the database.
not the database.
Right. And then I'm doing a new login. I'm going to search. So once I have a new login, I'm going to do search. Object types are user built in. I'm going to click on advanced, find now. And it will give you a list of all of these. And what I want, we said local service.
I see it there.
Yeah, so what we want is local service.
So right click on login.
Well, how do we get to where the login?
I'm going to do OK
Go down to under security.
and OK. I'm going to do user mapping. And I'm going to do AdventureWorks DW. And I think just, and it is DB owner.
Please, I'm sorry. Local hub, local server.
All right, you want me to go through it all again?
Yes, please.
All right, right click on logins, new login. Search, advanced, find now, find local service,
Advanced.
do OK, do OK, do user mapping. Click on AdventureWorks DW. Database role membership, we do want DB owner. DB owner and public, those are perfectly fine. So what we're doing is we're making an account that will run the analysis services. Now, if you were doing this commercially, setting it up, you would probably want to create a specific Windows user to run these, right? What it does is it creates a user that's really hard to find in the list, among other things. So this just makes it an easier user. And then when you're done, you do OK. So here, I don't know that I can do anything with the properties. So I'm just going to delete this, and we'll do it again. So did everybody get the user set up there?
Yeah.
I know that's a bit of a weird thing, but as I said, it just came back to me as we were doing this.
Should we delete the data source?
Yes, delete the data source, and we will do that again. New data source. And we will want a, so it's gone because I deleted it. Well, actually, there is an AdventureWorks DW, but let's say new.
Okay, how do we get to the data source wizard?
You right click on data sources.
Under the solution explorer. Okay, that's the problem.
and then new data source. Next. Even though there is a DW there, I'm doing it new. I'm going to let it do its 30-second timeout thing. I don't know why it takes a 30-second. It always does the 30-second timeout. Then it'll show you what's there. "30 seconds seems forever." So then I'm going to choose my 220. And then the database name, again, will be AdventureWorks DW. We'll do OK. We will do next. This time we will use the service account. And then we will do next. And we will finish. Okay, this time it should work. Everything is going much more difficult today than it should. Everybody got that? Back? Yeah, so part of that's my fault because I remembered after the fact. And also I was saying here that, so one of the things that gets to me, if it will not use the current account, why is that an option?
Yeah.
One of these times I will try it, but I do have vague memories that everything failed, and it was because of a failure of permissions. So anyway, let's do the next one, defining a data source view. Slowly moving through here. As I said, you guys could be ahead of me. So there's not a lot here either, but well, there's more here than it looks like. So we want to do right-click on the data source views. As I said, we're basically going through that solution folder, Explorer folder by folder, and adding it there. So we're going to add the data source view. We'll get the wizard, and we're going to choose AdventureWorks DW. And then we're going to select tables and views, and it gives a list of what ones to select for this. It has dim customer, dim date, dim geography, dim product, and fact internet sales. So we're going to add the selected tables and then do next. I'll come back to this after we do that part. So I'm going to go here, data source views, right click, new data source view. Next, the first page is always a splash. So we want the AdventureWorks DW 2014. So we do next. All right, so the ones that it said to get were like dim customer.
Date, geography, product, and then one more.
All right, and geography, dim product.
Yes, and then one more. I have to go back to the
Which one?
Is it counting back?
Internet sales.
back to the sales.
Fact internet sales. There it is.
Two.
Oh, up here.
Two factors.
Yeah, so maybe widen it out and then one says fact internet sales reason and the other
got
says, so you have to kind of widen it out to see. So are those all the tables?
Oh, date.
Customer, date, geography, product, and internet sales. I'm gonna, so internet sales, product, geography, date, customer. I think that's all of them, right?
Yeah.
So we want to add the related tables. Or did we want to add the related tables? Did it say to do that?
Well, they're still highlighted. I can get them all.
So actually, I don't think we needed to do that. So let's go back. Next. I want to get rid of
If
these.
they're highlighted, you can just hit that.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Like in your data source, under the Solution Explorer.
What?
Mine isn't showing new data source under the Solution Explorer.
Oh, when you right click on the.
There is no.
Oh. Did they come on in then? Is it just hiding your?
So you're in the, oh, so go back to the data.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
Go back to the
okay.
Visual Studio
Okay.
data.
I guess that would help.
Yeah.
I don't have the right program.
So I think we just want to do next. I'm just going to do, yep. So we just want to do next.
And then
And
finish.
finish after that.
Yeah, so it shows that and we do finish. And it should give us
Oh,
a diagram. Now this isn't exactly a star setup. So there's geography and customer are tied together. The date is tied several different ways. And the product is tied in there. So, but those are the ones that they said to do. So let's see what comes next. So they're just telling you what you got. You got a diagram, a tables pane, and a diagram organizer. So there's a table, yeah, an organizer, and then the diagram. So that is correct. We're just following the tutorial just to see where we can go.
Diagram is not.
Yeah, mine is.
Why is it not coming up?
Like it says it's in a diagram, but like it's not showing one.
So let's go back. Go back.
Where? I'm just ready to pull my hair out.
Redesign.
Data source, like new data source.
yeah. But when we're doing
Create a data source based on an existing or new connection.
yeah, in the announcement, there's links to the tutorial. And I can never record it.
So let's walk through it real
I don't
quickly.
know. That's the first page. I think you gotta do new, even though it lists areas in new,
Choose those two first.
and then do the drop down.
Then open the active.
And then the date and
I got Elizabeth Taylor at the mic right above it, screaming for our rating.
yeah, and then, we don't want
That connection succeeded.
How many don't have a diagram?
I have, I'm not sure I quite the same time. Well, I
No, no,
could do
no,
this
no, no.
Which do I do next? Or
Where's that?
Anyone else not have a diagram?
to. So he's getting caught up. So this here, does he have to be new or can he just?
Well, so do we have, are you just now making the data source?
Right.
Do a new one.
Yes,
Okay.
okay, new. So even though it's, like he said, even though it's buried.
Right, but I think it's tied to the wrong. That's what we're thinking. Choose the BW. And next.
Okay, so now, yeah,
Okay, now you can do the next one, which is the data,
It's new data.
data source views. You're doing it again?
Yeah,
Yeah, so
I
it's
tried
Flash
creating
Bridge.
a new data source too.
And what's this?
Oh, sorry.
Or no, I think that's right. That's what we did. And then you choose, so in the tutorial, there's a list of the tables, but basically you need,
No, it's not like that.
Customer date, geography, product, and internet. sales. Why is it not here? Must it be in that?
you want me to name it?
Yeah.
Geography. Dim customers. Kind of alphabetical, sort of. Dim customers.
So you dark mode.
No, it's not a second ago.
And it won't let me
Oh,
drag
scroll
things
up.
to it.
Dim customers. We got a dim customer. And date. And date. And then, internet sales. Okay. Internet sales. Yep, that one. And it's, yeah. And then, dim product.
Yeah, it won't let me drag things to a new diagram either.
It's just product. There you go. Next one up. There you go. Okay.
Next.
It looks like everything is except for the being able to see them.
And then you should get your chart. Where is your chart?
Where is it?
Are you not getting a diagram too?
Right.
He's got the others.
Well, that's interesting because that's exactly what's happening over there.
Is it just hidden?
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out. I don't know why there would be no diagram. Everybody else has a diagram.
Drop tables from the tables, table list. Not to add them to the diagram.
Do any of these buttons? No.
See, it says this, drag and drop tables from the table.
Right, which you shouldn't need to
Here's the
do.
table list.
I don't know.
Okay.
We move on, but I don't know why.
Geography key.
There's nothing down below to give it
Yes.
a. Huh. I do not know why. So a lot of what they're doing now is just telling you how to navigate there, which I'm not going to bother. Like you can hide this if you want. You can close these down. You can close these down. There are things you can hide. You can change the zoom on this. Like the output, if you close that, it'll be down there. And the zoom is, so right now it's at 75. If you wanted it at 50, it takes you down to there. A lot of what it's just telling you is how to do this kind of stuff in the rest of that page. So 2 people without diagrams, I do not know why. But let's look at the next stage.
Yeah, I'm not sure what this is. If you figure out what you.
You got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody got except for two, and I'm not sure.
It says to drag the drop.
I know, but it won't work.
It doesn't work, yeah.
And that's not what you should be doing anyway. You should just have the diagram. All right, I'm going to go back to the next one, which is modifying default table names. If you don't make it, I guess just sort of watch and maybe try again at some point. I don't know. I mean, I could spend the rest of the class trying to
No,
fix that.
that's- I can do it myself.
I've never seen that happen, and it's weird. There must be some little step off somewhere, but it's not giving any errors. Or it could be a bug in the dark view, except that a couple people have the dark view and it's working.
But it's not changing, it's still safe drag and drop.
Does mine say drag and drop? No. It's odd. I wonder, so, well, we'll go back anyway. We'll just keep going. I will try to figure it out. And if I can figure it out what happened, I will. All right, so this is just changing some names. In the table names of the Data View Designer, you can right-click on Fact Internet Table and then Properties. So not there, but here, if I do this and look at Properties, you can give it a friendly name. You see that?
Yeah.
So what do they suggest as a friendly name?
Sales.
Sale.
They just say internet sales. Yeah, that sounds fine. So,
Where's this from the name?
so if you right-click on Fact Internet Sales over here and do Properties, it gives you these properties, and one of them is a friendly name. So they just said Internet Sales. The actual name is Fact Internet Sales. You're basically just aliasing the tables in the form. You don't need to do this, but you can. Let's see what else they say. They do the product and just do product. I think that's all that they do. They just want to show you that you can do that. So I'm going to do dim product properties, and we'll change the friendly name to product. And you could do, I'm sure that that's what they say, you could do this with any of this. Okay, so they do suggest at this point saying save all. The two little disks do a save all, or you can do file, save all. All right, so that's that part. That part affects nothing about how anything performs.
Mhm.
But notice it does say in the diagram now, for those that have the diagram, internet sales and product.
It did let me change the friendly name.
Yeah, well, I think that as far as it's concerned, I think that the diagram is there somehow.
Was it Fact Internet Sales changed to Internet Sales?
Yes, but in the friendly name, yeah. And again, it doesn't, and it says internet now sales and product over here too. So you could do like this, you can change it to geography and date, whatever you want, and customer. But all they're doing is showing you that you can rename things. All right, so the next one is more exciting. It's finally defining and deploying a cube. And I've gone this far with Metro Alt before. It's just that my cube starts to fall apart. So I'm hoping that this way we get to a cube that is makes more sense. Now a cube is basically like a pivot table, except that you have more than 2 dimensions. It's hard to explain how the 2 dimensions, it's not like it actually shows you a cube, but it allows you to set multiple variables, right? Each variable is a dimension. So I'm going to go through and notice that it has several sub-lessons here. So we're going to define a dimension. We're going to define a cube. We're going to add attributes to dimensions. We're going to review the cube. We're going to deploy it and then browse the cube. And I may be as far as we get today, but let's see. So I'm going to click on that. And basically what they want you to do is right-click on the Dimensions folder in the Solution Explorer. You get the wizard. We're going to create a select creation method, use existing table, specify source information. In the main table, select date, click next, and then select the boxes with the following attributes. So we want like the date key, the full date alternative key, English month name, calendar quarter, calendar year, calendar semester. Let's go that far and then come back here, I think. So if I go here, and if I bring out the Solution Explorer here and pin it again, we've got dimensions. So I'm going to do new dimension. Next, we want to use an existing table. I think that's just next at that point. So what we want is dim date, right? Let me look back here. Did it ask us for our adventure, our source? Adventure Works 20 DW, dim date, which we didn't rename them. It sounds like they might have. Oh, and then we want to add these things, right? They wanted full date alternative. Well, actually, what date do we want? On the select dimension attribute. Oh, so we just choose date and select next. But I want to go back to what was the actual key column here?
Just date key.
Is it date key? Yeah. Is it date key? Yeah.
So it's just, that's the only one.
That's what I have in my mind.
Well, so then we do next.
You still have full.
I still have full. I want to get rid of that. Is there a place to go?
on the top.
Okay. So now we can select which ones we want. And I have like a memory that's like 3 seconds. So we want full date, English, month, quarter, year, and semester. Full date, English month, calendar quarter, calendar year, and was it calendar semester?
Yeah.
And was that all? Good. Is it letting you do that? Weird. I think it thinks your chart is there. Yeah.
It does.
All right, so then it's just next, right?
You gotta change the data types.
Oh, the data types. From regular to date.
Oh, is it after all of those?
So change the setting to the full attribute card to regular to date. Then check the arrow. Oh, repeat and change the attributes as follows. Attribute type from regular to date.
Yeah, they all say.
Oh, regular. So
And it looks like you can pick.
That's just for full date ultimate.
date.
You gotta do month, quarter, year.
Oh, I was talking about it.
Do you have to expand it?
And expand data, expand calendar, and then it's date.
full date alternate key, it doesn't accept,
What?
it doesn't accept date.
We have to open this up and then go to calendar. And then this would be
That one's not.
month. And then quarter would be calendar quarter. Date, calendar, quarter. And this would be year, right? Date, calendar, year. And then,
Semester is half year.
yeah.
Just half year.
Just half year.
Semester.
All right.
The semester.
So, and the date key stays regular.
Yeah.
Is semester?
So semester is half year.
Oh, makes sense.
So this is date for the full date alternative key. English month is month. And then each one of them, you go to date calendar and then choose from under there. And I think this is where my cubes start to go awry, is I haven't necessarily set up the dimensions. Quarter is quarter, year is year, and this one is half year for the semester.
Is it, okay.
And then,
Did you change the date to date also?
yes, so date is date. And I think that's it for those, right? So do next. Okay, so it's got the dimensions for the dates. And I think it's just finish.
You did full date alternate and the other is there.
Yeah. So we have the date. All right, so let's look at what we've got for the next thing to do.
Oh, yeah, so you have to do that.
So basically it just says to save everything and move on. So let's see what the next thing is. Defining a cube. So we're going to right click on cubes and do a new cube. Start the wizard. We're going to use existing tables, select measure groups, select, click suggest other cube wizard selects tables to use to create measure groups. The wizard examines tables to suggest internet sales, hopefully. And then we click next. So let's go through this first part. So I'm going to go through here. I'm going to, so we've got the dim date, we've got this dimension. You might notice that there's, the design is still there. When we're done, we're going to have lots of tabs across here. All right, so I'm going to right click on cubes. I'm going to do a new cube. Next. We're going to use existing tables. We want all of these, right? Or we wanted to click on suggest. Because this is for measure. So let's do suggest. It suggests internet sales, which is what it said it would do. I could have done that without the suggestion. But they wanted to show you that it will
I
suggest.
like their fancy.
So I'm going to do next. All right, and now let's look and see what we need to do there. On the select existing dimensions page, make sure that the date dimension that you created is either earlier is selected and then click next. So the date one that we did earlier, so there's internet sales. So is it next? Let me look. Did I leave something out? By default, the wizard selects all the numeric columns. However, these 4 columns are not actual. So I think I went a little ahead. On the select measures in internet sales,
We just need to uncheck two of them.
we just need to uncheck promotion key, currency key, these 4, right? Or is that the ones we checked?
And then clear the checkbox. So we need to uncheck those.
So yeah, so we need to uncheck promotion key, currency. Yeah.
All the keys.
No, not all of them. We just want to get rid of the promotion key, the currency key. What was the other? Sales territory key. Oh, so the first 4. And all the others we keep, right? And then we do next. Dim date is selected, which is awfully easy. Is that all? Then just do next. I doubt if there's anything to do here. Make sure the date you could, and the select is just you do this bears. Yeah, they're selected. Basically, they're just saying make sure everything's clicked. And I think this is just, is everything okay? They might have us rename the cube, I would think. Change the name of the cube to Analysis Services Tutorial.
10 does it say to clear the internet sales checkbox?
Oh, yeah.
See, we did that.
So let's go back. Clear the internet sales? Because these are dimensions, not. These are dimensions, not measures.
So we should clear it?
Yeah,
It's written on the 10th point, this number 3,
yeah.
on the page of 94. On the 10th one.
Yeah.
So,
And then clear the internet sales
we
box.
need to check the 3 and then check the last one. Yeah.
Right. So that's. And I don't, this is just a matter of,
And then we rename it.
yeah, so AdventureWorks DW to tutorial.
When we, completed the queue, how do you go back?
You might have to delete it and undo. There might be a way to get back to the wizard. I'm not sure. And then I would assume it's just finish. They say to zoom down a bit. So we got the cube structure. They say to save everything now. They suggest zooming to 50%, so I don't know why. Just to show you you can. Notice when we added the cube, we got all sorts of new things. Dimension usage, calculations, KPIs, actions, partitions, aggregations, perspectives, translations, and browser. Just to let you know, there's all sorts of things there now. So just a sort of a thing, for Metro Alt, we created the data warehouse and we created the SSI to do it. So this one with AdventureWorks, we're sort of assuming all that had been done, the SSIS, all of that. We're using the data here. What we're doing is we're going, trying to create a multi-dimensional cube to analyze the data. And obviously, we're not doing all the data, we just selected these things. So it's probably that we're going to look for internet sales of different products for different dates according to different customers and geographies, right? So you have those dimensions that you can search. All right. I think so. We're on the next lesson, which is adding attributes to dimensions. So you want to click on the customer dimension in the dimensions node. And in the attributes plane, so what are we going to do? In the attributes pane, notice the customer key and geography that were created by the Cube Wizard. On the toolbar of the dimension structure tab, make sure the zoom icon to view the tables is set at 100%. Drag the following customers from the customer table in the data source pane to the attributes pane. There's a lot of them. All right, let's see if we can do that. So over here was dim customer, and you do double click on it. Okay. And under the, so you have the customer key and the geography key. So under the customer key, what we do is we drag fields here, right? And what fields were there? There were a lot of them. Date, status, gender, email, yearly income, total children, number of children at home. Let's see if we can do that. So this is customer. We wanted.
Where are we dragging birthday?
So we want birthday into here,
Okay.
I think.
No, in the attributes one. So left one.
Oh, all the way over to here, under the customer.
Okay.
Is that right? Okay. And then, so we want birthday, marital status was one of them, right? And
Gender,
gender,
email address,
yearly income was one. Total children, number at home, was that part of it?
Yeah. English education, English occupation,
Okay. These sound like English. There it is.
house owner file,
Were there others?
yeah,
House owner, flag, number of cars owned, phone, first purchase, commute distance. So we do want number of cars owned, phone, date of first purchase,
yes,
and that's it, right?
and commute distance.
Oh, and commute distance. So we want most of them, but not all, huh? I assume we do the same with product now?
I want you to do
Geography, city, state, English country, region, name, and postal code.
You can hold control on my file, I have multiple of them.
Yeah, but then I'd have to know what I was looking for. So this one's under geography, so we double click. Actually, do these go into the just the dim customer attributes? Drag the following columns from geography into the data source view pane to the other. So I think it's just under the same, right? Because there is a geography key in there. So it was city. Up, yeah. City. English.
State, province, name. English country, region name.
Postal code.
Anyone's postal code? Is that it?
That's it.
Okay.
So I run around again from the lack of diagram.
Oh, because it won't show those things
Yeah.
either.
But it's
So
giving
it's like,
interesting, yeah.
I wonder, have you tried to save it all and restart?
No, I can't certainly do that. It says class not registered.
Oh. So we also want to do the product thing. So before we move on from here, we want to go to the product one and double click it. And then there were quite a few things we wanted to bring down here.
Everything from this,
Is it everything?
it almost looks like it.
Doesn't have product alternate key. Standard cost was there for sure. Actually, if you can't do it, at least you can read, I guess. What do we have besides standard cost? Color,
Safety stock level, reorder point.
list price, is it there?
Reorder point, list price,
Size,
size range.
weight.
Oh, sorry.
I'm just asking.
Yes,
Days of manufacture,
yes,
product line,
yes,
dealer price,
yes,
class,
yes,
style,
yes,
model name,
yes.
not the photo though.
No,
English description?
No.
No. That went back, okay. Start date, end date, any of that?
yes, both of those are status.
Okay,
That's it.
think so.
That's fine.
All right, anything else? Nope, it says save all. So one of the nice things about this tutorial, if it fails now, it's always there to go through again. All right, so we've created the product, the dimensions for product. We've given them some values. We've given the date one some values, and the customer. So I think all of our things have things. And I think one of the things that I failed to do when I tried to do the MetroCube before is this step where you drag things over. Because I think if you don't drag them over, it doesn't have all of them that you want. All right, so let's see where we are. Let's try the next lesson, reviewing the cube and dimension properties. So in the measures pane of the cube structure, expand the internet sales to review the defined measures. So I think this is mostly looking at things. So if we look at, how do we get to measures? Translations, browsers, DEM. Well, let me look at that. To open the Cube Designer, double-click the Analysis Services in the Cubes node. Oh, so double-click the cube. All right, and then look at internet sales. You can change the orders by dragging them. In the dimensions pane or the analysis, notice that although only 3 dimensions were created at the database level as displayed in the solution, there are 5 cube dimensions in the tutorial cube. All right, in the dimensions pane, expand customer and click edit customer. I think this is still just looking at what we've got. So if we edit the customer, we go back to here. Do we do anything with that, or is it just showing us how to do that? So it says to click the was that back in the cube? I'm just looking, trying to figure out where it's going with this. Click the partitions tab. Do you guys see the partitions tab?
No.
So let's go back. There it is.
Oh, yes.
So I double click the cube, and then partitions was a thing there. Again, I think this is just tour. Click the browser tab.
I got a connection cannot be made. Ensure the server is running.
Yeah, that's fine. What, for the partition?
For
Yes.
browser.
Yeah, that's fine. We have to process this. So it says to go to the partition, that, and then this is all just looking around. In the solution, right-click on the Analysis Services tutorial in the Cubes node and then do View Code. So all of this stuff is just looking around. If we were to do View Code, this is the XML code behind it all. I have seen books that tell you how to create these cubes just by writing the XML. Why?
Sounds tedious.
And doing C# to manipulate the XML.
If someone doesn't understand this graphical things.
Yeah, if you knew exactly what you were doing, yeah, that could be really tedious, but what you might do is actually use this to generate the XML and then write the C# to manipulate it. But yeah, and the logic of it is, once you get the logic, notice these are defining the attributes. You can, you could get to where you understand it. All right, I think I'm going to,
Why do they call it a cube?
because it's a multi-dimensional analysis thing. If you were to imagine it, so you can analyze from many directions at once. Let's see what eraser is. So you're thinking of analyzing a thing from several different. Oh, I need a pen. From several different directions at once. So not only do you have the 2 dimensions, so you have the columns and rows, but you also have, like at least 3, sometimes more dimensions, where you have like a grid of different things you can look at, like these 3 things as they affect things down here. And then coming across, and basically you can do multi-dimensional analysis. It's very complex, and the tools that do it are pretty sophisticated, actually. But that's why it's called a cube. A cube is actually, though, assuming you only have like 3 dimensions, and you might actually have like 5 dimensions. when you're doing the analysis.
N-dimensional hypercube.
So yeah, so like you can create a tesseract on that.
Right, but part of it is that you don't. I mean, like with physics, a dimension is just another variable, right? So. Okay, so I think actually all of that did was look at that, and then it tells you to close the XML code tab because it's kind of in the way. All right, so let's go to the next lesson, because what I'd like to do is at least get done with the cube. And then we could add some of the other things next time, and then we can play with our cube. And technically we go to 1250, so I don't know if we'll go that long, but. So I'm going to deploy the analysis service project. So you want to basically go to into the properties, the output path. Let's look at that. You can define multiple configurations, each with different properties. Notice that the value for the output path, I think this is mostly just looking at things again. So if we look this and we right click and we look at properties. So the output path right now is just bin, developer 12.0, remove passwords. There's not a lot there. What is it saying to look at there? In the configuration properties node at the left pane, click deployment. And developer,
It's on the website.
what?
It's on the website. Deployment,
Under configuration properties.
yeah.
Just under debugging, further left, further left.
Further left?
Left. All the way left.
Oh, you mean over here?
That's right.
Oh, yeah, I actually did that one. Localhost. Actually, we don't want this to be localhost. I don't think. Maybe we do.
Or do we want to be the summer 17?
I think we might want that. Yeah, probably. Let's do. I want the name of this without having to. Got an idea. Yeah, so this works there, but it probably won't work here. Summer 17-SQLA. And is it just 17, or is it dash and then dash? There's another.
Just SQL backslash dash.
ITC 224_6.
Dash A is with a 1.
Oh, dash A. I hope that works. That'll be interesting. All right. Configuration, review the deployment. Basically, if you want to deploy the project to a named instance, change the name, basically. Okay. So we just want to do deploy. So is it here we do deploy? Yes. Deployment failed. Why? Yeah, I know.
That's 62. I got even more. I only got 58.
So what did I do that made it so it didn't deploy? Where did all the errors go? Error list.
Mine worked
Yours work?
on my local computer.
Well, what if we change it to local?
I got mine more.
How did you do it?
I just copy the server name and put it into their. So just do it before. This is for real estate.
All right, so let's do properties. You did, you just copied the server?
Yeah, I just simply copy the server name from the Virtual Studio, and then I just put it.
The whole server name?
No, this property.
Oh, so properties.
Property, then there's a name up there. Name, every top. Let's copy and paste.
And then back here to properties and do copy. Let's try it again. And that still failed.
I did it with ITC 224 _6.
It did what?
Just the ITC 224 _6. Not the.
Not the server name.
Just ITC 224.
Well, we could try that again. And yours worked?
Yep.
Why is everybody's working?
We're trying different.
I have a
Mine's
me-
certain.
I have a message that says the Ventura database already exists on the web server. If you proceed with deployment, the database will be overridden.
Oh,
Is that okay?
probably.
Okay.
All right, so
complete.
Seems like it's working.
yeah, it's not throwing a billion errors yet.
One error.
I do have one error.
Yeah, connection cannot be made.
So let's look and make sure.
Server agent.
It's not this, it shouldn't be the server agent. I'm going to look real quickly. The configuration is here. SQL Server ITC 224.6, it is running. Did I do the local?
Have you tried // and then saying ITC 224 or you just tried?
Well, this only had one error this time. But it cannot be deployed because of the following connection cannot be
Are you
made.
showing the property one?
Yeah.
Yeah, right, //
Which should have been the same as when you did the copy the server name.
Yeah, sometimes it should be the same, yeah. It is the name.
Yes. Okay, now I got lots of errors.
So that / doesn't help.
Made it worse. Well, I don't know if it made it worse. Let me look over here. Where it's trying to go to, if you connect analysis services, I wonder if it should be local on mine, but so there's an analysis server, which is actually ITC 224.6. It is running. It has NT authority, local service, which we made as database administrator. Why did your guys' work?
Can you check permissions?
Yeah, I was going to try that too. All right. So let's look under permissions. So under DW, so we've got security here, we've got users.
No, just click on properties, right click on adventure properties,
Right here.
and then there's permissions. Right. It's simple, okay. I have public role on this one.
Well, it should have public also. I mean, it should have public and, so let's look under, we have NT Authority Service. You have public role as a role as well.
Yeah.
Connect. It seems to be all that I have.
Can you find the whole option on that?
Well, you should be able to add.
Search.
And it would be database roles. It just has connect. It should have owner. But that's all you have? You don't have anything else checked?
No.
It'd be nice if we could deploy it. Still failed. Permission denied. All right, so let's go back to the permissions. So I want to look at the NT Authority properties. All right, securables. They have no securables. Membership. No membership. I'm going to make them DB owner. I thought I did that. So I made them database owner. Let's see if this works. So I want to deploy. Where is it? There it is. I think it's going to work. Here. So, couple of things. In the properties, I use the name of the database. Right, Sum 17 SQL A ITC 224.6. So I use that as the database. The other thing is that for whatever reason, in my Management Studio, the account did not have any properties. So I made them under membership. I made them DB owner, which is probably overkill. But with DB owner, as a member of that group, they have ownership over everything, so they should be able to run things. The way it was, they had no permissions.
So it says to give it DB data reader, and I'm trying to do that. It actually did deploy, but I'm getting this.
I wonder if we did DB. Your data right here.
you do owner, you don't need to do the reader.
Okay.
I wonder if it's a,
It did deploy, but I'm getting
huh.
this.
So again, you're not seeing it, but it's acting as if it's a.
Yeah.
So it's on some 17 SQL -A.
The easiest way to do it, so the easiest way to do it is to right click on the server properties and see where it has the name. Just copy and paste that. It's just a pain to try to type it. Okay, so it deployed. How many is deployed successfully now? 1, 2.
It's got more errors.
It says a connection cannot be made.
Yeah.
That's fine. That's a different thing. This diagram, that's fine. We'll process it in a moment. All right, so let's look at so. We also have to go to here. Go to yeah, it should be.
Oh, okay, that's the.
Well, we'll see how it's going. It may be because I don't want to Oh, this is a whole different thing. Yeah, but it needs to change the service. So it's log out. We need to change it to a built-in account. Local service. Okay, I think it's gonna go. All right, we've just got a couple things to do to finish the cube.
Should I take a screenshot of all this?
Nah, I mean, this is all just sort of to developing it for when we do it with the other one. Yeah, I mean, we'll try. So let's see. I think the next thing to do will be so we've deployed this. I think everything is okay, except so we can go to browsing for the cube, right? So the browser right now just generally, and they actually do say here, though we're not going to, Excel generally gives you a better browsing experience. um, so the dimension designer, product dimension, click the browser tab. I'm not sure what that, so this is the browser. What did it say to do there? Switch to the dimension designer for the product dimension in the SQL Server tools. To do this, double click the product dimension in the dimensions. So we double click the product dimension. We look at the browser there. All right, so and then to display all. All right, I'm not sure what that does. Switch to the cube designer, double click the cube, select the browser tab. So I'm going to go to the cube, going to double click that. We've got the browser tab. And then it says to reconnect. I don't know if that's something here. I think what you just want in the toolbar, where, toolbar.
If you click here to try loading the browser, it came up. The second line.
The second line, yeah. Well, that's kind of what I was thinking. So this is the cube. That's how I've always done it, but I was reading it like it was saying something else. All right, so let's, I think, just play with this for just a second. One of the things you can do is you can select a dimension. Like you can select customer. You can filter the expression. So I'm looking for what other dimensions. Oh, so then we could do things like we have measures, internet sales. We could do sales amount, and that would be the total sales amount. But we could do it by city. We could filter an expression to do it for just Arlington, for instance. No rows found, so there's no sales in Arlington. Albany. Still no rows found. All right. And that should be the total sales for December for everything. I mean, you can do things like that, but let's see what it says to do next. Modifying measures and hierarchies. I think the thing is we don't have there's a whole bunch of them there. Do you guys want to do that now or wait until next time? Well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Each of those could have to consist of multiple separate tasks.
Hey, thing is, do we have time if we do this finish this on Tuesday? Time to do that and do the other thing too? I guess it won't take too long to. Where I would like to get with this, so this is this is browsing the deployed cube. So at least to there, whether we do it today or next time. The advanced things we don't necessarily need to do. The calculations, I mean, we can go as far as you want. The one thing I want to know is, I mean, so when we talk about doing these, this is always there for you to do it. The idea was just to make it better when we do the cube in MetroAlt, and you guys can help me walk through it. And this weekend I'll do it too, just to see what I can do going through this. The KPIs are kind of fun because it gives you little smiley faces or clocks or things. I mean, the idea is if the values are going up the right way, it gives you some visual indicator for that. If they're going down, it gives you a visual indicator for that.
Including emojis.
Kind of. I mean, the KPIs they're basically up arrows, down arrows, smiley faces, frowny faces, trend charts, the little fake trend charts, things. You can do that. Now, there's other things beyond even this. So there's defining calculations. Those are just simple ones. There is a point at which you can. So we are on. We're just about to modify things to deploy the cube. I was just going to look at the calculations. So it doesn't show. There is a level beyond all of this where you start applying some built-in statistical models like Bayesian analysis and things like that. All right, but I guess what we'll do next time is we'll come back and do the finish up with the deployment of the cube. We'll just spend a little bit of time on that, and then we'll do it with the MetroAlt cube. If you're really ambitious and bored this weekend, you could try to going through this.
In this point.
Yeah, to this point, and maybe even beyond if you want. The instructions are pretty plain. You know, it's not hard to do it. It's kind of hard to move back and forth. But if you're at home, if you have more screen space, you can just have it over there, and it's not so bad. So remember where we were, not lesson 6, but lesson 3. Save all of this. So typically where I get with MetroAlt is about here, where you can select some things and it'll give you some values, but it's not very exciting, and I'm sure you can do more than that. And that's where the next things I think are going to.
So when you see measures, what does it actually mean?
So the measures are things that can be calculated. So measures typically are, so these are like the dimensions, and we don't really have, we didn't really set up a good hierarchy because I think that's the next step. Hierarchies are how the things relate to each other, and you know what's more general, what's more particular, etc. This gives you can say whether it's equal to, or with a month, I think it's just going to be equal, but you can do equal, in, not in, contains. You know, there's some different operators you can use, and you can do an expression. So this is in December, and then if I wanted to do dim customer and city and equal, but we'd have to find a city that, so I have no idea which ones would be good. Let's try Atlanta. And then I get nothing. So I'm not sure if there's a relationship missing. But you should be able to do, what this would be is, what orders were there in December in Atlanta? I mean, and it should give you a list of that. This says no rows found, which means, and you could do sales. Let's just do internet sales count. It still says nothing. Is there any city where that would apply? Is New York down there, near there? Yeah, let's look at Seattle. Since this is a Microsoft database, Seattle might.
Some Amish is on there.
Yeah.
Oh, I saw it.
Hey, it's also super cool.
Still not get. Oh, yeah, we did. So this says that there were 20 internet sales in December in Seattle, right? And for a total of $8,919. And you can add. Notice you can keep adding dimensions, right, and keep refining things. This still isn't the same as finding trends. You know, for that you need the statistical analysis and stuff, but. I don't know what would be another dimension. So we could see what we have product. Is there a product that we want? Let's just say, well, I'm curious about the product name actually. Model name equal, and it'll have a list of models, and I have no idea. All-purpose bike stand. There were none. HL road tire. I'm just choosing these at random. See, I have no idea what they bought in Seattle in that month. You'd have to find what they actually bought in those 20 sales. Yeah, two touring tubes were bought. For $9.98. So now we've got, again, multiple. We're looking at the date, we're looking at the customer city, and we're looking at the model. As I said, you could get, it gives you some kinds of analysis like that, but there are many more there are many more things that you can do. This is just sort of the basic level. So I'm going to save all of this, and I will close it down. We'll finish it on Tuesday. We'll probably only just go for a ways and then try a little bit with MetroAlt and call it good. That being said, I mean, this is something we could spend a whole quarter on just this.
Yeah, sounds like it.
And you could try it
I was
again.
able to do a bunch of the other stuff, like, but
Did it give you the cube in the end?
it gave me the cube.
Weird.
And I was able to do some of the stuff, but a lot of the things, like the product name, was missing because I couldn't add it.
Right.
But I was able to use the Explorer a little.
That is so weird. Yeah, just a sec. So we went through some of the problems that you have there with like permissions and all of that. Yeah, just thanks. Oh, maybe they get added to the when we started. When we were building the dimensions, so if you look at dimension, a double, like a cube, yeah. So if you open that up, then click the function. So I think that what happened is you may not have added the product materials to. I mean, one of the things in the tutorials that went through, there was just like we did with customer, we drug all those things over. We also did it with product, and that might be the problem. But that's, as I said, this is just to play with. You can always redo that probably if you want. All right, so I'm going to stop this and then I'll be over there.